So today we're going to talk about how chronic stress impacts focus and cognition. If you're saying, "Oh, I can't remember, I have brain fog," this is for you. Why migraines and headaches often correlate with the sympathetic dominance. So sympathetic is part of the central nervous system where it's always active, okay, not the rest part, which is called the parasympathetic. And a regulation mindset that can help you to improve clarity and mood. And this is what's missing when we hear about just to self regulate. So let's begin. So, our first landmark, and I always want to give tribute to an author, a researcher, a neuroscientist. Today, one of the books that you ought to read is called How Emotions Are Made. This is by Lisa Feldman Barrett. She's a neuro um, scientist. And when I have been doing my work, I've been a therapist now for almost 2 decades. I love her work because it gave scientific proof to the work that I'm already doing, which is the story that we have absorbed, whether, it's not true about us, but we've absorbed that story. It's maybe somebody's story from generations before. It doesn't really matter. That is the most important story because it's a story that we're holding. So, talking about how chronic stress impacts focus and cognition. So, in the work of Lisa uh, Barrett, the brain is it has a skull. It's a very important organ in the body, if not the most important, but one of the, I think the heart is very important and the lungs. But the job of the brain is called allostasis. I hope I'm saying that correctly, which is to predict and regulate your body's energy needs. So, if you think about body budget, body budget. Let me say that again. So when you think about it, you have a battery every day. It could be just this much. Let me make sure I'm fitting in the camera. The role of the brain and the body is not really separate, but mainly the brain is to make sure that it is budgeting your energy so that you can do things, you can keep yourself safe. It wants your body to be kept alive. Okay. Now, it's very important that based on memory, cultural stories, your personal experiences, you create meanings out of something. Okay. So, for instance, you could think about a a flower, right? If a flower, maybe a flower that you saw in your mother's funeral, that flower would have a meaning for you, and therefore the meaning creates an emotional response, reaction, right? So you might feel sadness. If you have a favorite flower, let's say the daffodils, yellow, because you remember memories of you when you were young, and it's always the your flower when you have your birthday party, right? It reminds you of sunny or happy. So meanings mean everything, is what I say. The way you interact with external stimulus, things that are happening for you, and then also how your body's reacting to it. Okay. So, to understand this, how chronic stress impacts focus and cognition, if you have a meaning that life is stressful, you expect people to not be trusted, your body budget, let's say everybody has this much, the moment that you wake up and you're managing all these, okay, who's basically, you're not doing this consciously, or you might, who's going to fail me again today? And you're so, because of that expectation, you're already managing your budget. And when it's a negative emotion, per the study of Barrett, and she has, experiments and studies and researches around this, the more that you are uncertain, the more that it's a negative emotion, it basically takes so much more energy or battery from your actual body budget. So imagine you wake up many people who have they're managing the stress around them is already tired when you wake up. Okay. It's difficult to focus because now your battery, other people at 10 a.m. still have this full battery. Yours is like zapped. You don't have any more batteries. And when you don't have that much battery, now you're running on an empty tank, right? So imagine a sputtering vehicle, and you lose your focus because you who can focus when you don't have enough energy, and you don't have clarity, right? Which makes sense when people say I have brain fog, so imagine if your eyes are already tired. It's like at night you're scratching, oh my gosh, I'm tired. The TV's getting blurry. It's the same with the brain. It's getting um confused, confused in a way that it's already tired and it's not as clear, it's not as focused. So that's how chronic stress impacts your focus and cognition. And I know that I'm oversimplifying here for the purposes of this presentation, um, but in a nutshell, okay? Now, the second part is why migraines and headaches are often, they correlate with the sympathetic dominance. So, going back to the work of Lisa Barrett, so now you're running on an empty tank. When you're always having to manage stress, okay, you can also think about having threat, whether they're real or perceived. So you can imagine if you're looking at a hill and you're resting somewhere, maybe in your veranda, and then you could see that there's a lion coming down. Now you're getting like, oh my gosh, right? So sympathetic means that you're active, like your something is like you need to be doing something. You're strategizing. Um, and then, so in the beginning, I have already told you when you're managing stress, the battery's already fuse is very short. And it's not supposed to be that way. This is why migraines and headaches often correlate with the sympathetic dominance, meaning your body feels like it needs to do something, or it's safe, but it needs to be like protecting the body as if something bad is going to happen, and that could be exhausting, really exhausting. People, you could try all diets, meditate, but if you're not able to put your body at rest, then you'll continue to have your symptoms, whether they're emotional symptoms, depression, anxiety, or physical symptoms. You see, the body does not know the difference. If you're moving, whether you move inside your home or at the gym, the body does not say, oh, I'm going to function better because you're at the gym. It does not know the difference. So the last part I want to share with you, again, this is just simply an excerpt. If I didn't introduce myself, I'm Roanne Digia Samuels. I'm a licensed psychotherapist. I'm a somatic practitioner and a spinal flow practitioner. If you don't know what that is, you can just Google or look it up on YouTube. But in my practice, it makes sense to me that we are connecting or combining psychotherapy, right? The mind, the brain, and the body, because they're not separate. So why separate them, right? So I do both. I don't just do the somatic where, okay, what's happening in your body? Of course, I do that, but I really studied the nervous system because I was trying to solve a problem that some of my the women in my practice are having. They've been so successful, but something is left in their body. So that is, if you're considering that type of therapy where you don't have to choose somatic and psychotherapy, check the link to do a consult below. But let's do the last part, which is regulation mindset that improve clarity and mood. So what helps? Okay, um, you probably need to talk to your own coach or your therapist, but I will do my best so that you can run with this. The problem sometimes when we see so many videos about just regulating your body, and of course that's important. I also teach that often. But if you imagine a child, and the child is now throwing a tantrum, I'm just using this as a metaphor, and then you tell the child, okay, okay, take a deep breath, take a deep breath. There is a missing step. It's like you need to soothe first, although part of, regulation is to soothe, but you need to soothe first before you can actually sustain a regulated body. So to simply put, a child would get pissed off if you like, she's having a tantrum and you keep telling, calm down, I mean, even some adults, would say to their spouse, stop saying, to calm down or to relax. So stop calming yourself down, if that kind of makes sense. Instead, be with, okay? Maybe in a different video, you can make a comment if you want me to really go through this process. Um, be mindful what is scaring you. So stop for a moment, catch your breath. What is scaring you? Sometimes we think it's a lion that's coming down the hill, but it's just a cat. You want to orient yourself. So I find this very, I have this whole acronym that I teach my clients, but for your information, you want to orient yourself. So stop, slow down. If something is off in your body, like that's off, you don't even have to have a name. You want to orient yourself, basically saying, oh, I'm no longer there. I'm no longer there. Um, Most of the time, you need to anchor with something. For instance, for people to feel oriented, they might look at their feet. Oh, I'm no longer there. I'm no longer that young kid. Or they might just kind of move their head around, because what happens is when we are, scared, our focus becomes very narrow. So just kind of looking around, doing a rainbow look is to help you to be oriented. Um, and then you want a pattern interrupt. This is a little bit complicated, but I'm having you try to run with this. Maybe you could speak to your therapist about this, but these are things that I teach that's very effective. You want a pattern interrupt. So if this thing that keeps happening makes you anxious, is making you do, I don't know, like scratch your head, and then you want to stop scratching your head. You want a pattern interrupt by doing something different. Okay, so let's say instead of scratching your head, you scratch your back. Now, this is not going to work for everyone because it has to be aligned to the behavior you're trying to replace. So, I'm just using that as an example. So, let me go back. You're going to pause, you're going to orient, you're going to pattern interrupt, and then that's when you start regulating. So whether you're doing some butterfly flaps or whether you pace, whatever you do, that is a regulation mindset that would improve clarity and mood, is actually not to calm yourself down like a little kid that needs to be calmed down. So there's are when you're not used to it, you have to practice. um there is, you want to recognize it first, okay, and then you want to orient yourself. Oh, I'm no longer there, whatever that means to you. You want to pattern interrupt, and then you want to do whatever soothing um strategy you have. So again, this is Roanne Samuel. I hope that's been helpful to you. This is just an excerpt. If you're also interested in joining my free Zoom session monthly, mostly monthly, you could join. It's free, and the link is also below. I talk to you soon, and take good care. Bye now.